So hello, sir.
Yes, hello. Nice to meet you, Adi.
Exactly.
uh, Thank you. And I have seen your profile, and your profile state many test decks on the data science and AI perspective of. May I would like have some question. Maybe you can answer, and then to tell me more about yourself. And first of all, maybe you can introduce yourself for your previous experience or your project experience. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So currently, I'm a junior at Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Technology, pursuing my BTech in computer science engineering. Uh, Apart from that, like I have been learning and working in the deep learning and machine learning field for about 2 years now. So I started around in my first year. So I have almost 5 months of internship experience where I previously worked with an edutech startup named CloudML, where my main role was basically creating a a toxic language classification model for the platform that they were going to use. So basically the goal was to detect any like toxic words in the chat comments so that we can appropriately ban such stuff and stuff like that. Apart from that, I also worked in some computer vision and like computer vision stuff where my basic job was to create like assignments for them so that the learners of the edtech startup could work and follow along with those assignments and stuff. And I also like mentored students there. So my job also entailed looking at people's code and seeing which like part was the messy part and stuff like that, so finding out bugs and fixing them. Apart from that, then I started my machine learning internship at AI Crowd. So here also I worked in like language classification problems, which again entailed like detecting toxic language. And apart from that, I also work in creating that problem statements. So you are aware what Kaggle is, right? I hope. Uh, Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically AI Crowd is some like a kind of Kaggle. So I am in their internal team where I create challenges and problem statements for their internal competitions that they roll out to the participant. So I basically have created 5 problem statements till now. All of them mostly revolve around natural language processing tasks, which also includes something like uh, machine translation, text classification, working with embeddings and other stuff. So this is mostly my experience. Apart from that, I am also a Google Developer Student Club lead of my campus, where my main role is to help out my juniors and like run the campaigns organized by Google India relations team, as well as basically, you know, like creating workshops and mentoring students in data science and machine learning. Apart from that, I'm also a Explore ML with crowdsource with Google Crowdsource Facilitator, where I was the on like I was one of the 102 people selected worldwide across the globe. And my main job entails going around and conducting workshops regarding Google Crowdsource and machine learning, deep learning. uh, I'm also like very active in a lot of communities. So I am part of the Women in Data Science community, and I'm also active member of the Kaggle community, where I am a Kaggle 1x expert. So yeah, that's
See.
mostly
Okay. I see that you have many project experience in AI data science.
yeah.
Could you pick one of the projects you think is the most impressive, or and you can tell some reason why? Yeah.
Yeah, so a project that I did not work in any of the like internships and stuff, but a project that I'm currently working on, which I'm like the most proud of, is basically working in sign language to text problems. So basically, the idea is that like sign language is a language which is used by deaf people, right? So the grammar and components of every single sign language. So, for example, American Sign Language is a bit different than your uh, your American Sign Language is very different from Indian Sign Language and stuff like that. So my main work right now I'm doing is machine translation, basically from sign language to like Hindi, Indian Sign Language to Hindi. So it has two components. The first part is detecting what the signer is saying. So and the second component is around like going from the loss generated from the like the first model and basically translating it to Hindi. So that is like my best project right now.
I see. Did you find some difficulties for doing this project, and how did you overcome these difficulties?
Yeah, so this is like the toughest project I have worked with till now, because the issue is that a lot of different countries have very proper data sets around this task specifically. So there is our WTX Phoenix dataset, which is basically German in like in origin, and then there is a lot of English data sets as well. But there is no specific, how do I put it? Any specific like sign language dataset related to India. So what I'm doing right now is that me and a bunch of my friends are basically working with an NGO to starting the like data collection process. So right now I'm working with the other different datasets, basically creating a machine learning pipeline. And apart from that, side by side, I'm also working on collecting the dataset. So that has been a very challenging task because I need to relay and communicate with the NGO, like explaining them how machine learning works, how like your, like what you will be doing there and stuff like that. So
See, okay, okay. And I also see one of the projects you have done before is about some cancer detection. I think this is a computer vision project.
yeah.
And for this project, did you use any data augmentation to improve the overall performance?
Yeah. So, like in computation, specifically in image classification augmentation, I use some of the basic ones, right? So, for example, shifting the hue ratio and cropping it in some specific parts, and like let me just list it down a bit better way. So I used rotation, so rotating it by a certain angle a little bit. I used, scaling it down, scaling it up, like, making the light contrast different and stuff like that. So for all of these stuff, I used an package known as albumentations, which is like a very nice package for stuff like that. And I used it alongside, like I did all of the augmentation using that package. And apart from that, I also like included the whole augmentation part to my PyTorch pipeline. So I use PyTorch for the whole project, and I use augmentation on top. And I also like experimented with some of the newer cropping techniques, so like the newer image augmentation techniques. So there was something known as random crop, where basically you put like you take out a few different square regions in the image, so that it becomes a bit tougher for the model to overfit. And yeah, so mostly these kind of image augmentations.
See. And for the same project you were talking about, may I know, did you try to customize the model? For example, any different the layers or the loss function or different or other different components that you have doing some customization or any yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, basically asking me if I tried out anything different, or what are the things I tried out for these stuff. Is that it?
Yeah, yes, any customization on the model. Yeah,
Yeah. So
because I see you have this. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So I experimented with like, this is a project I did around 6 months back. So I'm not entirely remember it very exactly, but I experimented with a lot of different pre-trained models. So the pre-training was done through ImageNet, and then I tried out ResNet models, so ResNet 18, ResNet 52, and stuff like that. Afterwards, I like tried out some EfficientNet models as well. Apart from that, for specifically optimizers, I tried out SGD, so stochastic gradient descent. And apart from that, like in the end, I stuck with Adam optimizer with, I don't remember the learning rate exactly, but I also like did a lot of hyperparameter tuning with Optuna, which is a library to do this stuff, and I came to select learning rate. Specifically, in also like the pre-training layer was good, but apart from that, I also tried out with the like linear layer. So I firstly tried out with a normal linear layer, which will basically collapse all of the classes into one, because this is basically a binary classification task. So I was also using in case of like loss function, I was using binary cross entropy loss. So yeah, that was mostly what I did. Apart from that, like in the linear layer, I also tried out a little bit of adaptive averaging, if I remember correctly. Like it has been a while, but I guess I used that, like tried to experiment with that, but then I stuck with the linear layer and stuff like that.
See, okay, understand. And for the diabetes classification for this project,
Yeah.
may I know this project is a academic project or the project for the company? Yeah, yeah. Or any open, it is an open source project or yeah, which one? Sorry, which what is this project's nature?
Okay, so this is basically a tabular dataset project, which was which I did in a open sourced Kaggle competition. The dataset is basically open source, so it is MIT's Gaussian like dataset. So it is a dataset with which has been collected by folks from MIT, and it has like a lot of missing values and a lot of stuff because it is basically open source in a way. So it was through a Kaggle competition where I stuck into it, and it is basically kind of a tabular dataset.
Okay, see. And for your technical skills, for the skills that you have written in your profile, which one do you think you are more confident with? Yeah.
Uh, so like
skills, yeah.
Yeah, I can't say a single one. Like I am pretty good with, like let me just list out what are the things that I'm comfortable with, like very comfortable with. Which means I have basically worked in a project with those models and stuff like that. So I'm very good with basic statistics, linear algebra. Apart from that, my mathematics is also decent. Uh, in machine learning case, I like know the theory behind linear regression, logic regression, and SVMs pretty well. And I have worked with like tree-based models as well, so decision tree, random forest, XGBoost, and stuff like that. I am also like I have worked a lot in feature engineering part, data analysis, exploratory data analysis stuff. Apart from that, I would say that my main specialization, which like I have been working for the past 6 months in, is basically natural language processing and computer vision.
See, okay. Yeah, I know you have both experience in NLP and computer vision.
Yeah.
And if you need to choose one area, which one do you think you are the most confident with?
Uh, uh, I guess
NLP or computer
NLP.
vision? Yeah,
Yeah, I guess I would say NLP.
NLP. Okay. And okay, I see. And for the NLP, uh, did you use other different transformers or different stage of art model to solve other different problems? Or did you try to, or yeah?
Yeah, so like my general process is to basically start with something simple. So usually like this is how my normal work process is, that I start out with something like TF-ITF vectorizer or count vectorizer, and I on top of it train it on either a naive based model or a linear regression model or something like that. Afterwards, I jump into trying out Word2Vec and Glove pre-trained models, like pre-trained embeddings, and using them to try to figure out how my work will work. So how I tackle the problem with the pre-trained embeddings. Afterwards, I try something like RNN, LSTMs, and GRU type of models. And then later on, once I'm done with all of these different baselines and have evaluated them, I jump into something like transformers. So using BERT models and stuff like that.
Okay, I see. And and uh, for the one of project that I just was asked before is about the diabetes classification. I know you were using the QRS and the TensorFlow for the model building. May I know that did you use many QRS or the TensorFlow to build a model? Mm.
No, so usually when I work with a computer vision stuff, I usually use like prefer PyTorch. Although if I think that given 2 or 3 days, I can also like work with like learn TensorFlow for computer vision stuff. But basically, in case of NLP, I prefer Keras and TensorFlow a bit more because it's easier to model stuff according to me. But when I go for something like BERT and thing like that, I again switch to PyTorch because like debugging those models is much tougher according to me using TensorFlow.
For the TensorFlow, did you use the anything like a Tensorboard to visualize the, for example, the training process or the
Yeah,
network structure? Yeah.
yeah, I do. So I usually after like the training is done, I use the Tensorboard to basically see how my training happened. So to basically figure out which is the point where my model started to overfit. So basically visualizing the loss and seeing at which point my validation loss was the least before it started to rise up again.
When you have a problem of overfitting in your model,
Yeah.
what will you do to deal with this kind of problem? Yeah.
Yeah, so usually I will try and use dropout and batch normalization in those cases, like in case of deep learning. If it was something like a machine learning problem, I would usually try to, firstly, hyperparameterize tuning and also see if I can perhaps switch down to some lower model or try to get some more data sets and stuff like that.
I see. And you mentioned that feature engineering for your previous experience. For the feature engineering, I would like to know when you do some model building, maybe you want to investigate the different features and how different features contribute to your model's predicting power. Uh, what kind of methods that you have tried before to try to investigate these kind of features? Yeah.
Yeah. So in case of deep learning, they are almost kind of a black box. So I'm not able to do like very a lot of explainable stuff for those things, but I still try and see their confusion matrix and stuff like that to see what is working and what is not working. But for machine learning specifically, linear regression and logic regression have their the weight matrix basically tells you what the model thinks are the most important features and what are not the least like what are the least important features according to the model. And apart from that, like which feature correlates to the target variable and which feature does not correlate to target feature and stuff like that. But apart from that, for you can also use something like feature importance or like Bayesian tree models to visualize for basically feature selection and stuff, where you want to see which features the model thinks is the best and stuff like that.
Mm, okay. Uh, did you have a where a or sorry? Did you have a method or a uh, calculation methods or a values called uh, Shapley, even SHAP? Yeah. Maybe I can introduce some ideas for your reference or for your other projects, because for the deep learning model, we can also have some methods or methodology to try to investigate or understand different feature importance in deep learning model. And I think the SHARP, the HHAP, these things, I think it can help your or other different AI projects, especially when they are utilizing the deep learning methods. And yeah, I think maybe you can try it later for this work for other
That
projects. Yeah.
yeah, thank you. That will be great. If you can just like I will like have you
Okay.
send it.
Okay.
But yeah, I just
This not big
remember.
deal.
Yeah. So for example, in transformer models, you can see what the attention is looking at. So you can like, for example, if you have a encoder decoder model with attention, you can basically see like what is the model focusing at a specific point while it's predicting something. So I guess that could be a way you can kind of figure out what is going.
Okay, I see. And I also know you have a language proficiency in German. So did you learn German in the school before or from other else?
No, so I learned German at in school. So I guess I'm very rusty, but if like I want to pick it up, I can pick it up very like well, and I can also express myself in those stuff. So I just put it.
Oh, I see. Have you worked with other German before? Yeah.
No, I have not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see. This is quite interesting. Uh, okay. For the and for your the work experience for your one of your internship, maybe an internship or not internship, sorry, one of the your job is try to lead a more than 20 developers.
Yeah.
For this role, did you find any challenges or any things you think other than the technical side for the communication or manage project? Do you find any challenges from this role?
Yeah. So absolutely. It was a very challenging experience when I started out because I don't know, it's a little bit like I had this in my personality before where I always wanted to do the stuff on my own. So I have this ideology where I think some other person will mess it up or something like that. So it was a pain point for the first, 1 month, I guess, where I always used to try and do like all of the important stuff on my own. But then later on, I had to learn how to delegate my work
See.
more properly to my team and stuff like that. So yeah,
Okay,
that
I
was a bit of
see.
a challenge.
Okay. And for the maybe back to your technical experience, also I have some question. For example, I would like to know for the CNN project you have worked before, um, do you think which which steps of the, for example, the feature engineering or the data augmentation or the model building, which part you think is the most time consuming or the most challenging in your whole development process? Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say image augmentation is like the most time consuming for me because I like usually try to see which works and which does not work. So it involves a lot of trial and error on my side. Apart from that, the next thing I would say, like which is the most time consuming, is most probably hyperparameter tuning.
Mm,
Yeah, these are the top two for me.
I see. Okay. For your whole development process for the computer visions and or the for the CNN or model building, did you build it in on premise or on the cloud platform for your development?
I usually use VS Code. So like before,
Mm,
6 months before, I usually use Jupyter notebooks and stuff like that.
mm,
But the issue, like, because the issue was that I did not have any proper GPU in my specific laptop, right? So what
mm,
I had to do was use something like Collab notebooks or Kaggle notebooks to basically get access to
mm.
GPU. So I had to do all of my process in a Jupyter notebook. But later on,
Okay.
I got a fix where there is a package known as
Mm,
Collab code, where you can basically use the Collab GPU and run it on a like online VS Code server. So now I usually
mm,
work with VS Code because it is like a bit more easier. You can modularize things a bit better. and you can also have a lot of text completion and color coding and stuff like that. So it
Okay,
makes life
so mainly so you mean you mainly develop on your local machine, right?
yeah, so basically
Local, mm.
it is like developing in a local machine, like where I use VS Code,
Mm.
but it is on cloud. So like I use
Mm.
Kaggle GPUs and Collab GPUs.
Okay. For your computer visions, I know you have used some pre-trained model that you mentioned before,
Yeah.
and for different kinds of different kind of the uh, deep learning models, um, which one do you think the most efficient in terms of the predicting power and the computational efficiency? Yeah. If
So
I would, in other words, you mean if the first model you would like to use to try your project, which one you will pick for your computer vision project?
it yeah, so it depends. If you talk about like the most computationally efficient, I would say that something like mobile net or shuffle net or something like that might be the best, because if you
Mm.
want to deploy on mobile and you want a lot of like computationally like low resource stuff. But
Mm.
usually I start with resnets, because the ones before them, I guess, are more computationally complex without providing a lot of higher accuracy. So ResNet was the part where they like added residual networks and stuff like that. So it became very like a bit more easier, and the number of operations you needed to do was the least in case of ResNet 18, I guess. So usually I start with ResNet 18.
Mm. I see. And for your also about the computer vision and did you have any project experience that utilize both the computer vision project and also the NLP products to combine together to create an integrated service or a product to yeah
Yeah,
for
so
the
uh,
yeah okay.
in general, like in my internship experience, no, but I have done two such projects. So like I have done three such projects. One was a pet project of mine, which was basically image captioning. So that was not very challenging. But after that, I tried a little bit of OCR and stuff like that. So like object, character recognition and stuff. So the basic premise of that project was that you have a lot of menus, both in English and Spanish, and you basically have to create a model out of it, which can basically, detect all of the text labels and their bounding boxes. So like what is written in the menu and where it is written, so that you can like like it could be some sort of a product and something like that, right? So it was a two-way pipeline, where firstly the first process was just like creating the bounding boxes of where the texts were, and then in the
Mm.
second part I used CRNNs, which are basically convolutional recurrent neural networks, which
Mm.
basically gets the texts out of the like the images. So if that makes any sense. But yeah, that was the second project where I worked in something which combined computer vision and natural language processing in a very integrated manner. And then third one, which is basically kind of a product, is the one that I mentioned, right? So sign language to text one. So basically, in sign language to text one, you have a speaker who is visually typing, like signing, right? So he is shaking his hands, or like when you talk about sign language, he's basically trying to shake his hands to say something. Like for example, I am Aiteja. So constantly he's signing through his hands. So you firstly have to detect what the person is speaking in terms of signs. You need to basically say that, okay, this sign most probably means I, this sign means Aita, this sign means Jha. And then afterwards you basically use the like every sign per like single sign one, and you use a machine learning like machine neural machine translation model to basically convert it into the language of your choice. So in some cases it could be Hindi or English or German. So like these are the three projects where I combined both of the domains.
Okay, quite cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is for all my questions. And thank you. Yeah, you share your experience and your profile for me. And I think, yeah, I think this is the end of my this interview. And then I think we can, yeah, we may further process this, and then, yeah, we will let you know later.
Yeah, thank you. Really, thank you. It
Thank
was a
you.
really great interview experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.